Gatorblade Films. They've brought you so many classics, such as Die Die Delta Pi, Death Escort Service, Chaos AD,
Hello, motherfuckers, and happy Halloween.
Cannibal Claus,
Merry Christmas.
and now they bring you the Hart-Break Killer. Welcome to Dumb Down, the show where we summarize movies in hopes of understanding them better. Well, actually, most of you may have never heard of Gatorblade Films. They are a micro-budget horror/exploitation movie production company out of Tampa, Florida. Before I continue, please subscribe and drop a like. Also, hit that bell button, even though I don't truly know what it does. The Hart-Break Killer tells a heartwarming story of Robert. He's a typical loser type that is most certainly not wearing a wig, like at all. But he's trying his hardest to not be such a loser.
You got this.
He's currently dating this girl named Mel, which Robert spends most of his days calling or texting her.
Hey Mel, it's Robert.
Hey Mel?
Hey Mel, it's Robert.
The thing about Mel is that she seems to be toying with him. All of his coworkers tell him that she's a whore and that she's likely fucking other guys. Robert doesn't believe them at all, but one day he arranges a date to meet up with her at a restaurant, but she just leaves him hanging. He waits and waits, but she never shows up. And Robert has had enough. When he gets home that night, he decides to end it all. He puts a gun to his mouth and shoots himself. But things don't go as planned.
I can't even kill myself right.
Another thing about Robert is that he randomly snaps out of reality and ends up talking to a much cooler, non-wig wearing version of him. This version of himself tries to advise him and keeps telling him how to live his life.
Be a fucking man and grab life by the pussy. And fuck it.
So Robert starts visiting a psychiatrist at what seems to me like a Ramada Inn, but she can't even help him get rid of the other version of himself. So one day, as he's flipping through the channels, watching every movie that Gatorblade Films has put out, he comes across a porno starring his girlfriend titled 50 Shades of Mel. The voice of his other self confirms to him that she's in fact
Mel is quite the porn actress. Look at them titties.
So Robert realizes that he needs to change. He calls up one of his coworkers and asks if Pam from advertising is single. The dude says yeah and gives him her phone number. Robert hangs up and quickly calls Pam, and he asks her out on a date. She says,
Okay, sure.
so now Robert is happy as hell. The confusing thing about this scene is that when Robert called his coworker, he was sleeping, which indicated to me that it must have been the middle of the night. And Robert quickly calls Pam after he hangs up, and she seems to be hard at work, still at the office. Like, what the fuck? What kind of hours are these? And also, she agreed to go on the date after work the next day. But he's been home already for hours, and she's still at work at the office. Did she mean after he gets off or after she gets off? If it's after she gets off work, then it'll probably be a date at like 2 a.m., right?
Stop asking so many fucking questions.
So the next day they go out for drinks, and Robert is trying his hardest to be as weird as possible. He's also the worst at keeping conversations. At one point, a douchebag from a table over walks up to them and hits on Pam right in front of him. But Robert is unable to bring himself to even say anything.
Gotta be honest, couldn't help but stare at your tits the second you walked in the door.
But for the most part, things seem to be going pretty good. Robert even dances his heart away at one point. But eventually, shit goes south for poor old Robert. He tells Pam, hey, let's go grab some grub at this Mexican place down the road. She just says, nah, you go right ahead. I think I'll hang around here a little longer. And as Robert is leaving, like the poor loser that he is, he sees that Pam leaves the empty bar with the man that was hitting on her earlier.
You are the biggest pussy alive! Oh my god, how could you let her get away like that?
So Robert snaps and goes to see his other self again. His other self makes him fuck this life-size pussy masturbator right in front of him. And we get noises like this. Robert continues to see his psychiatrist, which to me seems more like a therapist than a psychiatrist, and she tells him to go to the park and take walks, and to think of the happy moments in his life, like when he used to go fishing with his granddad. But even after doing this, Robert still feels like garbage, so he rushes home to cry like a little bitch.
Why are you crying?
in the middle of him feeling sorry for himself, his coworker calls him and forces him to go over to his house to watch the game. And as soon as he gets there, this is the type of questions that Robert gets.
So Rob, getting any pussy lately?
But they didn't just invite him over for the game, because they actually got Robert a stripper.
Yes!
But before I go too far, let me just mention how interesting it is that every time these dudes talk, they lean forward in every take.
Yeah, man, really. Look, dude. Well, thing is, we got something for you, buddy.
It's like they're chilling on the couch, and every time the director says action, they quickly sit up and say their lines and then sit back down. So the stripper comes out and she's trying to do her thing, but all Robert can do is cry. Again, like a little bitch. And in the middle of this, he snaps back out.
Pussy right in front of your face and you want to come hang out with me instead.
So now Robert pleads and begs his other self for help.
If you're really gonna help me out, just give me a straight fucking answer. What do I need to do?
Now we call back to him and he's at the psychiatrist again. She's trying to understand him better, so she gives him a Rorschach test. But he seems to be scoring poorly.
What do you see? What is it supposed to be? I don't want to do that one. What do you see?
After this, Robert goes home, determined to be better. He motivates himself the only way he knows how. Checking Facebook, doing push-ups, if you can call these push-ups, eating pizza, and jerking off to books. Robert is now excited again.
Work out, get Pam, take over the company.
But when he invites Pam out on another date, she shuts him down real quick. She tells him, I ain't into loser crybabies like you. Now Robert is mad as fuck. I mean, how could he not be? He just got essentially told to fuck off. So he rushes home to drink in his bathroom. In the middle of this, the other version of himself shows up in the living room. This is the first time that Robert didn't have to snap out of reality and go into a weird black room to see him. He tells Robert that he's leaving and that he won't be with Robert any longer. So Robert calls his psychiatrist and then rushes to the Ramada Inn to see her.
The man from the black room is not here. These are all just thoughts in your head.
And this is where the movie turns M. Night Shyamalan-dong on us. And it pulls a twist straight out of the cabinet of Dr. Caligari. The psychiatrist tells Robert to stop seeing what he wants to see and to actually look at what's going on. This makes Robert snap out of it and he finds himself bound to a straitjacket at what seems to be an insane asylum. The people he thought were his coworkers are the orderlies at this asylum, and everyone else he had interacted with in the movie are patients at this asylum, even his girlfriend Mel. But wait, guess who's the head doctor at this place? That's right, none other than the other version of Robert.
He never gave me the answer to life.
Confidence, Bobby.
What a twist!
And with that, Robert lives happily ever crazy. The end. This has been the Hart-Break Killer dumbed down. A really entertaining movie regardless of all its flaws. I know I made fun of this movie a little bit, but I truly did enjoy it. Just like I've enjoyed a lot of other movies by Gatorblade Films. I own most of their releases. They make entertaining low-budget flicks. They're not super polished or anything like that, but if you want that, go watch a Tarantino movie. Their movies are for those in the mood for some sleazy good time. And most of their movies have plenty of tits and blood. And who doesn't like both of those things? Well, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share with all your friends. And also, go check out our Instagram page.
See ya! Bye! Get the fuck out of here now.
If you want any more of that, you can come by and see us again, yeah?
I'd like to kill him! No!